We have to call this what it is. The 2026 West Bengal election in India, the results of that election aren't just a political win for the BJP. They're a surgical strike on the very idea of a fair vote. The numbers coming out of West Bengal are staggering. The BJP taking an overwhelming majority and unseating Mamata Banerjee. It's a seismic event. But you can't talk about that victory without talking about how the deck was stacked before the first ballot was even cast. We are talking about a special intensive revision that wiped 9 million names off the voter rolls in West Bengal alone. That's more than 10% of the electorate just gone. And let's be very clear about who was targeted. While the purges were massive across the board, the data shows a chilling, disproportionate focus on Muslim voters. In districts with deep-rooted Muslim communities, the deletion rates were through the roof. We are seeing reports of lifelong citizens, even former military officers and local officials waking up to find their names deleted because of logical discrepancies or a sudden, impossible demand for paperwork they've never needed in 70 years. This is the so-called purification of the rolls that the leadership of New Delhi openly called for. They didn't just win a debate, they deleted the opposition's base. We are watching the world's largest democracy transform into a majoritarian state in real time. And the fact that this is being normalized as a historic mandate is perhaps the darkest part of the whole story. So let's dissect. To understand in greater detail what this victory means, we are joined by Dr. Yaqoob Bangash. He is the Dean of School of Economics and Social Sciences at the Institute of Business Administration in Karachi, also one of the foremost historians of Pakistan, also an author of many books. Dr. Bangash, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
So the way that I'm looking at it, Dr. Bangash, yes, it's a big win for BJP, winning West Bengal, but I think it's a bigger loss for India because this means that they've actually broken down the walls of the last real anti-BJP state and now have taken over that and have done so clearly with a very strong anti-Muslim agenda that of course BJP peddles as part of its central politics. What is the real significance of this win, BJP's win in West Bengal, and do you agree that it's a real flashing red light for India as a whole?
Oh yeah, of course, you are very, very right. This loss of the Trinamool Congress and Mamata Banerjee, in fact, losing her own seat, I think that is very, very dramatic for the rest of India and for India-Pakistan relations also. Foremost, it of course shows that the opposition is now completely fractured. Mamata Banerjee was his last great person except for the Congress. She was his last great person of the opposition. So she's left. And what's very significant is if you see that in the last election, BJP had no seats in Bengal, and now it has a 2/3 majority. So look at the grand jump that it has had, and look at how it got that jump. One is all the federal welfare programs, especially focusing on women that they've been doing throughout India. That has an impact. Secondly, of course, in Bengal, it was the whole move against Muslims. And this is also very interesting. Bengal is one of the few places in India where Muslims have a very high percentage. Muslims are about 25 to 30% of the West Bengal population. So it's not a marginal place. And to run a campaign against 30% of the people and winning a 2/3 majority, that is very dramatic. Third thing, very, very important is look at the special intensive review that they had of the polling numbers. Millions of voters were actually thrown out. And what's really fascinating is, Fahd, if you look at this, that 2.7 million of Indian citizens, or at least they claim they're Indian citizens in West Bengal, have challenged their removal from the electoral roll. And the winning margin of the BJP is 2.7 million. So coincidence perhaps, but also I think very much linked to the fact that the BJP kind of cleared out those people who might vote against it. Another very interesting factor is that this also cements their bad relations with Bangladesh, because a lot of this is, these are all Bangladeshis that have come into India, these are all Bangladeshi Muslims that are invading India and everything. So this also cements their really bad relations with India, especially with the BJP being in this border state and now running a whole campaign against Bengali Muslims, even if they are from West Bengal, saying that they're all Bangladeshi. So this is boding really well badly for them. But I also want to emphasize that Mamta has to be blamed for this too. Her arrogance in dealing with the India alliance, her arrogance in actually going all out alone in this election when she knew she had the BJP might of the central government, their money, their media control, everything going against her. She should have gone with the India alliance in this elections, but she, threw out the Congress's suggestion of it and went all alone, and now we see the result in front of us.
So clearly she's made mistakes. Also, Dr. Yaqoob Bangash, incumbency factor always kicks in. There were so many reports of breakdown of law and order, of corruption. If a party is in government for so long, clearly all of these political ailments tend to creep in. So all that aside, the fact that such a huge chunk of the Muslim electorate was disenfranchised clearly is a major factor, probably not the only factor, but a major factor. And there's nothing that anybody else can do about that. So clearly what we are seeing is the Hindutva ideology now seeping into the length and breadth of India.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think it's very important, as I said again, this is the province that the BJP has won, which has a fairly large number of Muslims. The only other place where there's a large number of Muslims is Kerala, where the Congress has now won. But again, the BJP has opened its account with 3 seats there. So this is fairly significant. You have 30% Muslims in West Bengal, and the BJP has been able to clear this narrative. What's going to happen in places where Muslims are 5%, 10%, or 20%? But let me also address the anti-incumbency thing. While I think anti-incumbency is an important factor, if you see, West Bengal has only changed parties once before. So, the communists had been in power for like decades. In the last 60 years, they've just had the communists and Mamta Banerjee. So it's not as if that anti-incumbency, whereas it's a factor in other places. So if you look at Rajasthan or Punjab or, several other states, anti-incumbency is a huge thing. I don't think it was that big here. I think it was really, one, of course, there is a bit of it, but I think the way the BJP ran the election, I think that's very important. And if you look at the numbers, the amount of money that the BJP spent on social media, on advertisement, on all sorts of other things, the opposition did not even spend a fraction of it. And I think that is dramatic because, if you control the narrative, if you control what people hear about, what people know about, then you control what happens in the election. And I think this election has clearly shown it.
What it has also shown, Dr. Bangash, is that if you are a minority in India, you should today be very afraid, because brute majoritarianism is now on the march and there's nothing to stop it. So for us, obviously, it's a cause for concern, because we have a neighbor, we are living next to a country which is becoming more and more inward-looking, more, their bigotry is now polluting their politics, and their aggressive posture towards minorities as well as the neighbors is now increasing. So we should be concerned. Where is the Indian society heading now?
I think that's a valid question, and I think that's literally, what, as I say, the $1 million question, because, what's happened in India now is that you've got about 80% Hindus, but you also have about nearly 20% non-Hindus. They aren't a small enough minority, like 1 or 2%, that you can completely decimate and push to a corner. They are a large number. 20 million is over 300 million people in India. So what are you actually going to do with them is very interesting. And now what you have done, what the BJP has done in the last couple of years is it has legitimized the marginalization of every kind of minority in India, be it Muslim, be it Christian, be it Sikh also, And I think that is going to really bode worse for the country. And I would say that it will increasingly have civil strife, because if this goes on, there will be attacks on Muslims in Muslim localities. There'll be attack on Christians a lot more. There'll be attack on Sikhs now. So I think this is going to create a lot of internal strife in India, because you can't create hatred which does not result in violence. And so much of hatred has been fanned and created over the last decade or so, that eventually it will end up in violence. And I think another thing which is is very important is that in the 1990s, you had a very interesting kind of mix of vote bank politics where the lower caste and the Muslims and the Dalits and everyone used to band together. That banding together has also ended. And then what the BJP has realized is if it gets the 30 to 40% vote that it gets from the Hindu middle class, it wins the election. So if you look at the BJP very rarely goes beyond 50% of voters anywhere, wherever it even wins big. Because it knows as long as you got 40 to 45% of the vote, you can ignore the rest of the 50% of the vote, just focus on that 40 to 45%. And that mathematics has really delivered it now in West Bengal, but if you see earlier in Maharashtra, you see in other places in India. So this has really worked for the BJP, and they've got the formula down to a T, where they can actually ignore over 50%. And that is very dramatic. And I really don't think, a lot of people say, oh, Congress doesn't know what to do, Rahul Gandhi doesn't know what to do. And, someone was actually saying that to me about a year ago, like a Nobel laureate actually, in fact. And I said to him and said, well, do you have an answer? Do you know how to deal with it? And he didn't. And I think that's the real question, what to do there, because you've got a party that has figured it out. Now, how do you unfigure it for them? That's very complicated.
Absolutely. It's a complicated situation, but thank you for simplifying it for us, Dr. Yaqoob Bangash. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It is very important also to understand that, the way that Indian politics is sliding down the path of bigotry has consequences for us also. It is, it's been 1 year since we hammered them in a military defeat, but we can't choose our neighbors. And it is in our own interest that we have a stable India. Unfortunately, that's not happening. Our eastern neighbor India, its own internal fault lines are opening up more and more. It is becoming an unstable, majoritarian, toxicity-fueled society. And therefore, its aggressive belligerence towards minorities and its neighbors tends to be increasing. And therefore, we, of course, have to be cognizant of that fact. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.